Welcome to everyone. This week video will cover the SP500 for the week of October 21st, 2024. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. Since my last update on September 30th, there is no change on the long-term picture for the 20 and 40-week cycle. The best place to label them is still on August 5th. Let's start by the 20-day cycle. As expected, on the last 20 days low formation on October 7th, the SP500 crossed very slightly his cycle lines, the green lines on the chart. The crossing occurred at 5,700 on October 2nd, for a downside target at 56.33. The 20 days low on October 7th was at 5,686, only 53 points above the target. Because the low was within the 1% of margin of error, the target is considered meet. On October 9th, the market crossed back above his cycle line at 5,752, providing a target at 5,818. On October 11th, the SP500 met his target. The next peak is expected around October 19th, and the low on October 25th. For more details about the next 20-day cycle, see the 80 days roadmap. The 40 days cycle. On October 8th, the SP500 finished his second 40-day cycle since the August 5th. Technically at the stage of the cycle, the market should cross below his cycle line. But due to market bullishness, the SP500 found only support on his lines. This is usually mean as still have a good amount of bullishness in the American stock market. The peak of this 40-day cycle formed on the right part of the cycle, the vertical blue dashed line, which can explain the moderate correction following the peak. Usually during the second 40-day cycle, the peak occur on the left part of the cycle. The next peak for the next 40-day cycle is expected around October 25th and the low on November 11th. After the 40 days low was confirmed, I drew the 40 days trend line. This trend line will help us to identify the next possible 40 and 80 days cycle peak. A crossing below this trend line may also confirm the next 20 weeks cycle peak. The 5,822 target triggered on mid-September, when the SP500 crossed above his cycle line at 5,613, have been met on October 11th. On this day the market made a high at 5,822.13. For this week the cycle trend will be up and the success rate is 88%. The 80 days cycle. The last 80 days low was expected to form on October 15th. But it seems there is a lot of bullishness in the market. The market made his low on October 8th a week early. I also mentioned during my last update, the SP500 should find support on his cycle line. But again due to the bullishness of the market, the low occurred about 80 points above his cycle lines. The 6,105.28 and 6,087 targets triggered on August still valid. If the SP500 cross below his cycle line before reaching his targets, this will invalid the targets. The next 80 days cycle low is expected on December 14th, the vertical purple dashed line. The peak for the actual 80 days formed on September 26th at 5,767, on the right part of the cycle. Because the next 80 days low will also be the end of the 20-week cycle, I expected the next one to form on the left part of the cycle. From the August 5th low to the actual 80 days low, I drew the 80 cycles trend line, what's first called VTL. A crossing below will help us to identify the next 80 days peak, but more important the 20 weeks peak. We can expect the 80 days cycle peak to happen on November 11th. The cycle trend will be up for the week, and the success rate is 100%. What to expect for the next 80 days cycle, let us see on the roadmap. The present 80 days cycle started on October 8th. On October 9th, the market crossed above his cycle line, to provide a target for the 20 days peak. After forming his peak the SP500 will start a correction, and should find support on his cycle line. Then the market should resume his move to the upside, to form his 40 days cycle peak. After forming his peak, the market should cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target for the 40 days cycle. This low is forecast to happen on November 11th. Then the SP500 should start a new rally on his way to the next 80 days cycle peak by crossing above his cycle line and provide an upside target. After the 80 days cycle peak formed, the SP500 will cross back below his cycle line, providing a downside target for the next 80 days low. In the meantime, the market will form a first low around the last week of November, rally toward his cycle line using them as resistance before heading down to form the 80 days low around December 14th. In conclusion, to sum it all up, the SP500 index is currently in a bullish phase. However, we expect the 20-week cycle low to form soon. After this low is established, we can anticipate a rally toward the peak of the 18-month cycle. Then the market will start a correction on his way to the 18-month cycle low. To keep this video relatively short, I analysis in greater details the SP500 index in my website, tradingmarketcycles.com. This is the end of this week's video. Thank you for following me. If you like this video, please click on the like button and share this video. Welcome to everyone.